Ruby procs. How to create them, how to use them, what they do, I'll tell you. Procs are objects that encapsulate blocks of code. They can be stored in a variable and then get passed around to other methods or procs. This is metaprogramming stuff. This is pro. There are a few ways to create procs, which are all equivalent. Let's see them. You can create them with Proc.new, which receives a block of code as an argument. In this case, this block only gets a parameter and multiply it by 2, and then return it. That way, this variable called Proc1 will store this block of code, and then we can use in the future or in other methods. You can also use the shorthand, just proc, all lowercase, which also takes a block. And there is also this way. Here basically we have a method that's called makeProc. This method receives a block of code as an argument. How can I tell this method expects a block as an argument? Simple, whenever you see this ampersand in front of the argument name, that means this argument is expected to be a block. Then see how we're creating this proc. We're calling the method makeProc, we're passing this block as an argument to the method, and this method returns the block, which then gets stored inside our variable proc3. I hope I never see that one in the wild. What about Lambda? You know, you can also create procs using Lambda semantics, and Lambdas are just a type of proc, but it behaves a little different. But that's a topic for the next video. Just like there are many ways to create procs, there are also many ways to use them, and they're all equivalent. Here I'm creating this proc that takes this block as an argument, and all this block does is to receive an argument and then return that argument multiplied by 2. And I'm storing that proc in the myProc variable. Then here's a way to use it. You can use the call method. See, I'm using the call method in my proc, and I'm passing 5 as an argument. That 5 gets returned multiplied by 2, so we get 10 returned. You can also call this way, omitting the word call. See, I have my proc, and then dot, and then I just pass the argument. Since I passed 3, we get 6 returned. Using square brackets, you can also use the proc with square brackets. I have here my proc. We don't do any dot if we're gonna use square brackets. Then I just pass the argument in the square brackets, and boom! Here we go. We have 14 returned. Last but not least, we can use our proc using the yield method. So it will read myproc.yield, you pass the argument. In this case, we get 42 returned. Just a reminder, these are all equivalent. Procs don't care. Procs don't care much how you give them arguments. What does it mean? Check out this example. I created this proc and I put inside this variable called top3. All this proc does is to get 3 arguments, x, y, z, and then it prints those arguments on the console. See how this proc gets 3 arguments? So one may assume that they have to pass 3 arguments to this proc in order for it to work properly, right? That's how it is with methods anyways. But procs don't care. You can call this proc and only pass 1 argument, or 2. Or 3, or even more, or none. When you call a proc that is expecting an argument and you don't pass that argument, this proc will automatically set that to nil. And in the case you pass more arguments than it's asked, the extra arguments will just be ignored. That's it. Check out these examples. First, I'm calling top3, passing only 1 argument. So it just prints this first argument, which is Dragon Ball, 2 commas, and that's it. What happened is that since I passed only 1 element, this element got mapped to x, and y and z got set to nil. The same way here I'm passing 2 arguments. As you can see, it just prints those 2 arguments, puts a comma here, and then it's blank. And of course, if you call with 3 arguments, it's gonna work as expected and print all 3 divided by commas. But you know another cool thing proc can do? You can pass an array as an argument to the proc. The array will be automatically deconstructed and its elements will be mapped to the arguments. Let's see. Here I'm calling top3 and as an argument I'm passing this array. The array will be automatically deconstructed and its first elements will be mapped to the arguments. 1 will map to x, 2 will map to y, 3 will map to z, 4 and 5 will just be ignored. And this is what you're gonna see on the console when you call that. But let's have a little fun now, shall we? Now bear with me. I'm defining this method called attack. This method takes 2 arguments, and this last argument is a proc. For this first argument, I'll just be passing a string. Inside the method, we have this variable called soup, which will have whatever is the result of calling my proc using this character argument. Once we have the variable soup, we can print this on the console, which is just printing the character name, then the word performed, and whatever is inside soup. Here's the proc I created that I'll be passing as an argument to that method. This proc takes one argument. Then it gets that argument and uses in a case statement. Here you go. First, it used down case, so we're sure all letters will be lowercase. Then it checks if that argument is Goku. If it is, it returns Kamehameha. If it's Naruto, it will return this command to print on the console, which will print the nine-tailed fox awoke, run. Otherwise, it just returns punch. Procs will always return the last statement that was evaluated in the block, unless you use the keyword return. In that case, if we ever hit this keyword, the proc will not just return from the block, it will also return from the method it was called upon. Let's understand with this example. Here I'm calling the method attack, I'm passing the string Mike as first argument, and I'm passing my proc as the second argument. This proc will be called here with the string Mike as an argument. Since Mike is neither Goku nor Naruto, we're gonna fall into the else of the case statement, and punch will be returned to this variable soup, and this is what's gonna get printed on the console. Mike performed punch. Then I'm calling attack again, passing the string Goku as the first argument, and the same proc as the second argument. Now this proc is being called here using the string Goku as an argument. In the case statement, since Goku will match with this case statement, it will return Kamehameha, and that will be printed here, which reads on the console Goku performed Kamehameha. Now this third time, I'm passing the string Naruto as the first argument, and the same proc as the second argument. The proc will be called here, and the Naruto string is gonna be its argument. When the case statement matches Naruto here, it will run this line, but this line has the keyword return, and it will return this console command to print this string here. So since we use the keyword return, the proc will actually return from the method, and this line will not even get a chance to be run. So when we call that method like that, what we're gonna see on the console is the nine-tailed fox awoke, run. Wild, huh? Follow for more.